Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Great Tech Group. You're invited to join our conversation to model the future of construction innovation and the digital transformation adventure of this great industry. My guest today is Ed DeAngelis. Ed is the CEO of EDA Contractors and has led the company's growth for over 25 years, from a roofing-focused business to a diverse construction firm specializing in masonry, panels, and historic restoration across the greater Philadelphia region. Under his leadership, EDA has prioritized workplace culture, psychological safety, and emotional intelligence, earning recognition as a top workplace organization for 7 consecutive years. This commitment has positioned EDA as a leader in fostering employee well-being and innovative leadership in the construction industry. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Todd, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So
Same here.
I always like to start with how you got into this industry. What led you to the world of construction?
I think, so my father was in the construction business. He was in the HVAC business. So I have to say that probably had an influence on my direction. When I went to college, I was looking for positions, and the reality was I think I was drawn to construction, being around my father and being in certain types of situations where one of the best things I think I liked about construction was the building of it, but I also just really enjoyed the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt the people were down to earth. I felt comfortable being in that environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. So obviously culture's played a huge part of your story and the company culture that you've created there as well. Why do you think the passion, what's kind of the spark behind the passion for the people in construction?
I think when you first start a business, I started the business in 1999. And, first part of your career, you're just trying to survive in the construction business, and any business for that matter. All small businesses, when you first start out, you're struggling to survive, and you're really just thinking, how do I keep the lights on? How do I make this an opportunity for myself, my family, and for a small amount of people? I would say about 15 years ago, I think I got to a point where I saw that the company had been able to be successful. And I thought that the next place for us to go is to really look inside and see how we can improve our deliverables through the people.
Mm-hmm.
And from an intense reading campaign for investigating, could we do both be a successful and profitable business and make culture a significant part of who we are? And since then, that is what led me to do it. And once you start doing it, you really do start to get addicted to the results of what you have to put in. It takes a long time to put it in, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, construction known very much a high pressure field and environment. How's the journey been like to be really an advocate for mental health and well-being given this high pressure context?
What I was amazed at the incredible, well, first of all, when you first start speaking about psychological safety, emotional intelligence to a group that has never really been exposed, especially our field workers for the most part, there's a pushback in the beginning. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a strange place to be. But because of the incredible intelligence, the skill set of the individuals in the field, not just field office also, I was amazed at once you introduce something to them, once you stay with it, how much they embrace the ability to be less stressed, to be less hammer nail. That's what I call it, hammer nail. In essence, they want you to see them as skilled individuals who are doing important work. So we're all emotional human beings. How can you help me with that as we move forward? So I was just really fascinated when we started doing this. I knew there was going to be resistance, but I was incredibly pleased and surprised how much they will embrace something simple, for example, that we do on every meeting. We just breathe for 30 minutes, close our eyes and just do a small breathing exercise. Now, it's strange in the beginning. People don't like it, but I would say most of them, after they've done it, I feel a little bit better.
So Ed, I'm curious, construction known for being a harder emotionally industry, if I can say it that way, of kind of check your emotional stuff at the door. We got a job to do. We're on tight timelines. Let's get it built. How was the pushback, if there was any, bringing in more of the soft skills and what's perceived as maybe the more kind of warm fuzzies and that whole realm of something that is pretty new culturally to construction?
Yeah, Todd, I think that the beginning was as you would expect. I mean, think about it societally. Number one, construction industry is a male dominated industry. We're doing great, having great inroads trying to get more females within our industry, but especially in the field, it's a heavy male dominated industry, which societally men are not supposed to really talk about their feelings, and especially construction workers who are tough, who are strong, who do physical work. So it was difficult in the beginning to introduce simple things like breathing and talking about your brain and hippocampus and all the things that as emotional intelligence. But I was pleasantly surprised about how they embraced wanting to feel better. And I think when we talk about soft skills, they're really hard skills of developing something that is you have to work on. And I think most of them, I don't think, I know most of them, they really embraced the fact that they could be valued for their brain and for their emotion and how do they get to be more effective. We already know most of them are very skilled at their trade. The reality of it is they're human beings, and we wanted to see if there was another way to tap into their greatness through their emotional intelligence and their mind. Not that they're just intelligent, but that it's a high stress environment we work in, both in the office and the field. Anyone who's in construction knows that there's dates, there are hard dates, there's safety danger that is around them at all times. There's multiple trades on one project having to work in unison, even though they don't have any real relationship with each other. So you can only imagine that there's a stress level there. We've seen when you put the work in that they respond.
Yeah. Well, I think that the key is we're all humans. At the end of the day, we're not cyborgs coming in. We're not robots. So you have to bring your whole self into it, and that's when you get your best self. Is when you're able to feel that safety and kind of camaraderie among your coworkers too. We're not just cogs in the machine. And I think
Absolutely.
you guys have really done a good job of untapping that reality that we have to bring our whole selves in.
Yeah, I have, Todd, I'm glad you said that because I have a saying, humanity as a strategy. We're all human beings. Whatever trade we're in doesn't matter. Whatever we do doesn't matter. But you're right. The only way for us to get the greatness, every individual person has greatness in them. You should go in with greatness as your first thought that they have it. Now you have to somehow tap into their skill set, who they are as a human being, where they came from. Some people have emotions that are higher, some people have a little less emotion. So you have to craft that. And as leaders of business, we have a responsibility to help human race by helping individuals be better people. And then obviously the results of that are they produce well. We've seen nothing but this investment paying off. I mean, it's a big investment. Make any false claims that this is perfect, but I also want to make sure that anyone who wants to endeavor on it, you have to be committed to it because there is a lot of pushback in the beginning because it feels weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a strange thing.
Right. So when you unlock people's emotions are messy, and not everybody, you kind of are injecting in conflict essentially into
Yes.
it. How do you navigate that to then create and really cultivate that psychological safety in your company?
The reality of it is you have to, number one, from an upper management level, including the CEO, you have to embrace it. You have to learn what it means and why is it important to you. That's number one. You have to embrace that this is going to work. Secondly, you're going to have to get training. You're going to have to make sure that your staff is trained on the why, the how. What is this mean, and then have people, whether it's internal, we've developed an internal team, but in the beginning we used outside resources to be able to come into our company and teach us some of these things. I didn't grow up learning this type of thing, of knowledge of emotional intelligence and psychological safety. So when you introduce it and you train your people, you just have to be committed to it. And there's all kinds of levels of learning also. Now, most people say to me, well, then how the heck do you get jobs done? And where's how do you make money? And my argument is always the same. We can do both. It's like when people say, do you want quality or quantity? I want both. I think our brains have the capabilities to do both well. We just have to challenge each other because it can be messy. Emotions are messy. But you know what? Conflict is messy, but we're dealing with that every day. We're dealing with emotional people on the project.
Mm-hmm.
Owners are emotional. Construction managers are emotional. We're all humans. So the reality of it is, it's been a path that we've been able to explore that is difficult. And the only way to do it is to train on why you're doing this. It was amazing for us when we opened up and spoke about how the brain works through the neural pathways and hippocampus. Well, I didn't know all that. I had to learn it myself. But once you start teaching it, people start to go, that makes sense to me, because again, people have the ability to learn at a basic level. None of us are going to be a psychologist, but we're also going to at least get a taste of what psychology, which is what psychological safety means, is creating a place where an individual can feel comfortable in their own skin, and then they feel like they can challenge others and not feel like there's going to be repercussions to that. They do it in a respectful way, a non-emotional way. They're much more effective in getting their point across.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that was standing out to me while you were just talking is the kind of problem solving aspect that is awesome in construction. I think construction has the best problem solvers, creative problem solvers, bar none, out of any industry, because that's what the job is every single day. You come to the job site and there's something didn't go according to plan. You got to figure out how to make it work and solve it. So when you inject, they're used to the messy on the job site. So when you put it in the context of emotions are messy, and it's another kind of problem that we got to creatively come to the table and figure out. I think construction is actually pretty tailor made to work through that. We just have to kind of reframe it in their mind that this is a challenge and opportunity to put those creative skills to the test.
Todd, what you said is exactly what has happened. In the beginning, it's foreign and it's odd, but these are fixers of how to create solutions to problems. So once you give them the idea that all this is everybody's got emotions, part of conflict management, which is our training, is how do you deal with these problems? And I think you're right. Construction people in general like to fix and build things. And when you are really trying to build something, you know that all things that are built well are built with collaboration. And how do I collaborate with like people who come from a different aspect where they're coming from? You have to figure out a way psychologically and emotionally, how do I continue to stay on that same track? It is exactly what you're saying. I do believe that construction in itself, unfortunately, we are going really fast. So it's going faster and faster. What normally, when I got into the business, you would get 2 years to build, is almost cut to a point of, 6 months faster. 6 months, that's a big cut in this. So that means less things are resolved and you have more conflict. And then you have to figure out a way, and you need your people to be able to somehow find a way to create that opportunity to get answers without it being overrun by emotion.
So how do you all take time and build in the space to get to know the person behind the employee?
So we have the first thing we did when we started on this journey is we created what we call a culture team, who spoke nothing about work, all about how do we get to know our people. So from that, we created We created EDA, we call them EDA champions who champion our culture. But more importantly, some of the things that you spoke about, we have an EDA fund committee, which is individuals of the company are given a certain amount of money and they can design anything they want to just have fun that all employees are invited to. And that is one of the best ways to integrate with people, to know them, is to get them together as much as possible so they can find those commonalities of life and individual people, knowing that my kid has to go to soccer practice and I got to run from here to there. When you find that, that helps your psychological safety because you start to understand people as humans. You just really do that. In addition to that, we create other programs. We have what's called an EDA Cares program, which is local charities that are run by our employees, meaning if you have a charity that's close to your heart, most of them are local, as long as you join our committee, you will be able to run it. We then, only through volunteer, give an opportunity for our staff to come and be part of, because it's amazing. Construction workers have such skill set. We have built rooms. We've built tree houses for Make-A-Wish. We have helped people hang just simple things in their house. We've built planners for veterans. All these are ways for people to come together for something good. And I think most people want to help. And that allows you another way to integrate them. And another thing we have is called the EDA Pact, which is for people with some mental health issues and drug addiction or issues. The construction industry, in the male population, construction industry is 75% more likely to commit suicide versus the general population. It goes to what, Todd, you had mentioned earlier. This is a high stress environment. We also get injured. And narcotics are a way to help someone deal with the pain. But none of us know what can happen when a narcotic gets into your system and how your body's going to react. We've come to a place where we don't want to judge you for that. What we want to do is put you in our program and guarantee you your job back. If you tell us, if we catch you, we'll at least put you in a program as long as you follow this program. I think that's part of that humanity as a strategy that we need to continue to craft those things. And if you do some of the things that I'm referring to, you start to get that thing you asked me earlier, is how do you get to know people and get that connection? And I think the more you can bring people together for some things that have nothing to do with the work as it relates to installing panels or roofing or masonry, you have a better chance of getting a more holistic individual. So we do formal training on this, but we also do those light touch trainings, which are way you can learn while you're doing something good, either for yourself, having fun, going to an event to help others, or coming to an event to learn about mental health and where you can get some resources and help as it relates to maybe an addiction problem.
Yeah, love that. How have you seen the PAC event, really help on the team and maybe even in the wider industry?
Yeah, I'm amazed, honestly. When we started out on this journey, I was just looking to make people just be a little bit happier, and I'm hoping that it'll help us as an organization. The response from both the industry and internal staff has been tremendous. We have low turnover. We have people trying to come to work here, not because of me, because of the people out there talking about the things and how they feel. They're feeling something different, and it's catching. It's like, it's kind of like it's something that they're feeling it. If you create the functions, you can create a feeling with your people. We have seen it not only just from our vendors. I mean, we have a lot of people come in our office. There's a certain energy that is being developed by the people. Again, I like to always say this: it's not Ed DeAngelis, the CEO. I may have helped spearhead to start it, but at the end of the day, it's being done by our team.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the successful balance there. It takes leadership buy-in at the top to, start it and get the energy going. But in order for it to take root and have long-term success, it needs that grassroots buy-in and engagement with it as well too, to keep the energy going.
And I'm glad you said that, because one of the most important things is you can't stop doing it. And this isn't like, you have the nail, you hammer it down, it's done. This is forever. We're going to be working on this to try to get it and make it better forever, because as humans, we grow, all of us. We mature. We have new people come in the organization who are being introduced to it for the first time. So this is something that we're on a journey for, we like to say we're on a journey to greatness. And the only way to be on a journey to greatness is to constantly look at ways to improve what you are doing. So this is that way. This is an endless. We finish buildings. We do a building, and then we finish it and we complete. And that's nice. And that feels good that you've started it and you finished it. The journey we're on as it relates to emotional intelligence, psychological safety, and culture is forever. We're going to be, just like as human beings, we're on that journey to keep evolving as people.
Right. Right. And it's it's not a linear journey up and to the right all the time. It's wild swings, just like our
Todd,
emotions.
I'm glad you said that, because that's the thing. I am not here to tell you that this isn't a rough road that goes up and down, has peaks and valleys. Absolutely. But even when we are in our valley, I'm so enthused and inspired by the fact that we're going to get back up and we're going to get up to the top of the mountain as we keep going. But it definitely, you need to have resilience to be part of something like this. If you're not really bought in, and I'm glad you said it, if the CEO and upper management are not bought into it, it will not work, and you cannot fake it. You have to believe it. If you want to read about it, you have to know that it's worked. And if you look at organizations in the Fortune 500, that's where I got a lot of my information from. The ones that I, went to, the Starbucks, the Zappos, the Southwest Airlines, they both created profits and a great environment. So I know it can be done, not because I figured it out, because they did it. So, but you just have to know that you have to make an investment, and you have to be committed to it, and you have to understand what, Todd, you had said. Sometimes there's going to be a valley. The economy doesn't always go up. The economy can go up and down. Your workforce can go up and down. Your work amount that you have, your backlog goes up and down. Well, this is the same. So just treat it the same way. You just have to have the same type of resiliency and commitment to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So where do you think that the construction industry at large can shift in and get a better mindset, maybe to better prioritize mental health and well-being?
I think, Todd, what you're doing in bridging the gap is a big part of it. We need to continue to speak about it. One, open it up so it's more out in the open, where it's not in the darkness. We need to accept that we are a $2 trillion a year business. So we are not some little players in this world of industry. And we have to accept the fact that we employ a lot of people. We need to keep evolving. We only will survive if we keep evolving. We talk about AI. We talk about innovation when it comes to losing manpower, but that's just work hours for humans. But the reality of it is there's no robot on earth who can have an emotion and can do some of the things that humans can do. So we have to embrace both the innovations of technology and how we get our people to feel valued and know that they have a place in your business. So my suggestion to anyone in the construction business is embrace that you are a large organization, and we need to keep evolving it, and it evolves through diversity. And I don't say that because we have to do it, but part of creating a psychological safe and emotionally safe place is to have more people in your organization from different experiences. We're not going to be able to get all the same hammers. These are humans. They're going to be different. A robot, we're going to get to maybe manufacture something. Right. They're going to be one robot or 1,000 robots, and they're all going to do the same thing. But humans aren't like that. But the more diverse we are, the better chance we have to learn more from all types of individuals, men, women, tall, small, coming from different backgrounds, immigrants, people who've been born here. I'm a big firm believer that construction, the beauty of construction is we really want to accept all.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe all can have a value here, whether it's in the field, whether it's in the office. You can do so many things in the construction industry. People just aren't giving it a chance. And as owners of construction companies, part of my desire to come on your podcast is you're giving a voice to an industry that really needs more of a voice to say we're a real business here and we're going to do things that can really help America, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, love it. More than agree with it as well. So, what advice? What's the low hanging fruit for somebody that's listening and is excited about the conversations? Like, yeah, I'm bought in. Now what? Where do they start to try to
Sure.
bring this culture into their company?
I think the best way to start anything is to educate yourself on, number one, self-reflect and say, okay, I want this. Why? Why do I want this? And then go research, look up companies. Look, what I did was one of the books that had an impact on me was Good to Great, where I'm able to just read some things where I can see facts and numbers of profits and loss, but also see that these companies are doing this type of work and then read about them. Truly understand, does that feel, you have to start to feel, is this something that if you've heard this podcast with you, Todd, which is why it's great, and you say, well, I'd like to do that. Your first low-lying fruit is go out there and get educated on people who are doing it. And don't be intimidated if you're in construction that, well, we're not going to be Google or, yeah, you know what? Don't lower yourself. You know what? We're a $2 trillion business that employs millions and millions of people. So go read about those companies, Starbucks and things like that, and read how they built that thing, and then implement your own, and then start thinking that way, and then say, grab a team, one person, two people, and say, what do you think about this? And start to build it with your team. But you have to be, as the person who is going to build it, you have to be totally bought in. You have to be well read. You have to be educated on what you're thinking about, because you're going to get a lot of naysayers. And you've got to be resilient to go, look, I've read on it, I can speak on it, and I'm committed to it. And we can do this. And as long as you stay on that track. So the low-lying fruit is believe it and educate yourself, and seek places like Bridging the Gap to listen to other people speak to it. And I don't care even if they're not in the construction industry, to be honest with you. Just listen to business. Business is business. Business owners are business owners. Innovators are innovators. They come in all shapes and sizes, and do not think because you're in construction that you're just like, a Neanderthal going out there just putting up things. To be honest with you, there's a lot of bright people, a lot of great CEOs, a lot of great people in our industry who are doing some amazing things, who are real deep thinkers. I didn't go to Harvard, so yes, that may be it, but I think I like to use a phrase, exceptionally average. I think I'm an average person who has worked really hard to improve myself to a level, but I wasn't born with the brain of someone to go to, Oxford or create the next atom or things of that sort.
Yeah. And you don't have to be. I like the exceptionally average.
Definitely
That's
average.
great.
So average has like this negative connotation. And the reason I say that, Todd, and I think you'll appreciate this, is I want to encourage all people. You have it. I call it exceptionally average. If you think you're average, I'm a perfect example of, guess what? If you put your mind to it, you could be exceptionally average. And realistically, do we really want to be Einstein and a genius? There's not that many people in that space. So why don't you just try to be the greatest you, and embrace the fact that you're average? I'm embracing. I know I'm average. I'm just really working hard to be better for myself, which will get me to a place where I hope I can leave this earth as exceptionally average.
So on that note, what do you hope that your legacy is when you leave the construction industry? What do you want people to think about Ed in terms of the culture, the leadership, what have you?
I like to think the legacy that I would really like to leave is that this person created a successful business that was profitable, that employed a lot of people, and has grown every single year since we started in 1999. Every year we've had our largest year, absent the 08, 09 financial crisis, but we're always growing. But coupled with that, you can be kind, you can care about people as people, again, humanity as a strategy, create that kind of environment so people say, you know what? They're successful and he's successful. but I like him. And you know what? I feel good about what we did. And you know what? My life at home is better. My work life is better. And I feel better that I worked at that company. Ed was part of creating that, where people can feel better in their life. I think that's when you get the most out of people, is when they feel the most comfortable, both at work and at home. That doesn't mean that we don't hold you accountable and that you can't sometimes work here and we have to, because sometimes this isn't a fit for everybody. There's other people have different ideologies of what they want in their life, and sometimes it doesn't work. But I want my legacy to be that he cared for me when I was here. He cared for me even when maybe it didn't work out. And at the end of the day, it was creating opportunities for more people and was accepting of all different types of people, whatever background they came from, whatever sex they are. It doesn't matter. That he said, you know what, I see greatness in everybody. Let me give you an opportunity for you to show it. And if that was a legacy that someone said, that's what, if I could leave with something like that, I'd be pretty proud. Just like my children. I don't want someone to say, wow, your child is making millions of dollars a year, but I really don't like them. As a parent, anybody who's a parent, the thing that you want is, I like your child, respectful, good person, kind, caring.
Mhm.
Secondary is what they do, because humanity isn't about, no one's judging us at the end how much money or prestige we have. They're really going to judge us on how we treated each other.
Mhm.
And I'm not perfect. I make mistakes like anybody else, but I'm just trying to be better. That's all.
Mhm. Yeah. Love that. So as we start to kind of land the plane here, we love innovation around here. So I got a couple of rapid fire questions
Sure.
around innovation
Absolutely.
for you. So what is the phrase modeling the future? What does that mean and look like to you?
So for me, look, as I stated on earlier, we have to embrace innovation from a technical standpoint. We have to embrace AI. We have to embrace new technology as it goes forward. We can't see it as a threat. We have to, and construction industry, unfortunately, sometimes is way too late. We got to be more in front of these innovations. When we see them, we embrace them and we see how we can implement them. Not every innovation is going to work for us, but we need to embrace innovation. And innovation, to me, from a technical standpoint, modeling to the future, is constantly looking to strive to improve from your technical standpoint. What is it going to look like? The reality of it is, I don't know, but there's a lot of things going on right now that we need to embrace and see them as opportunities, not as difficult. Just how do we use them? But they're not all going to work. Not every single BIM isn't good for every single project. It's good for certain trades. It's good for certain things. AI is going to be important for some things. Robotics are going to be important for us. If I'm modeling the future and you're able to put something on my shoulders when I'm able to install brick, and that can help a human being not have injuries, we need to embrace that and not see that as a threat. We got to see that as an opportunity. So when I think of modeling the future, I see it as, how do we embrace technology as we move forward? In addition to that, modeling the future, still believe that your most valuable asset, and until someone changes my mind, is your human beings. So invest in them, innovate with them, find ways to continue to connect to them, be engaged with them, allow them, because they are an amazing return on investment. If you put the money into your people, you will get the return, because if you hold them accountable, they will do what you want them to do. If they don't, it's okay. There's another place for them to work. It's okay. It's okay also to say, this isn't your cup of tea. Modeling the future, to me, is embrace the technical innovations of the world, and also embrace the fact that human beings are evolving every generation, and you need to know how to tap into them to get the best out of them, and they're all going to be different. We all wish we all could be 75. Really? We all wish we could be 24. No, what we all wish is that we're all embracing each generation as they come in and tapping into their talent.
What does innovation mean to you? How would you define that?
So innovation to me is finding ways to standardize things, finding ways to make them more consistent and more efficient. So innovation to me is finding ways to help really people complete tasks at a more efficient, quicker, enjoyable way. And then in addition to that, innovation to me is finding these unbelievable, and we, especially in construction, I see my field people innovate and come up with solutions that are unbelievable. Even though they're not inventing AI, they're creating little moments of efficiency and effectiveness that make them happy and proud about what they're doing. So innovation to me is really a way to make my life easier and enjoyable. And in work, I think that's what we want. If AI can make my life enjoyable for these mundane tasks, and then it allow me to use my innovative brain, my my challenging, my arty brain, where I can say, is there something else we can do here? I think that's where I see innovation as a tremendous benefit, and that's what I define it as for myself.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. How do people find out more information on what you got going on and connect with you?
Look, we're very active in social media, so please go on LinkedIn. I would say go to our website. We have a great website. I think if you want to know everything about us, just follow us through our social media and our website. I think that's the best way to understand it. And obviously, if you go onto our website and you would like to get involved, you'd like to know more, there's plenty of information on there to contact me, either myself or some people on my team. If you'd like to know more of it, part of what I am doing with this podcast is I am not afraid to give away all the things that I've learned through my time, because I'm improving and trying to get better every day. So when I give you something of some tidbit of information, because people say, aren't you afraid your competition is going to take all these ideas? It's America. I don't mind if they take those ideas. To be honest with you, I'm on to 12 other ideas. That's what innovation's about. Constantly thinking forward of how do I improve myself for not today, for tomorrow. How do we get to tomorrow better? And I think that's where giving away some things, because I like other people to embrace some of the things that I've spoken about or I've learned from other people. And just like your podcast, it allows me to hear from other people. One of the best ways to innovate yourself is to hear from, sponge off of others.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I had a boss that used to call it R&D, rip off and duplicate.
That's a good
I love
one.
it.
I'm willing to be the person. I want people to rip off. I am proud, and I'm proud when I hear that someone is trying to implement some of the things that we've been through. That makes me happy. That's like, again, like I'm big on, being a father, and nothing makes me prouder when I see some of the things that I've taught my sons and my daughter, my wife and I have taught them, and then they replicate it, and you go, that feels good. So you give it away, and then you just keep evolving.
Yeah, for sure. So final question for you. If I could give you all construction power, you could snap your fingers and innovate one thing in the industry, what would you pick to innovate?
Man, I got to snap my fingers and innovate one thing in the industry. I think one of the things I'd like to innovate is a way to really avoid death and injury. If there was a way to be able to snap my fingers and know that every day my workers are going to go home the same way they came in, it would really, really make me much happier and have a better life in the business, because it's the one thing that frightens myself and my team, is that any individual would go home different than when they came in. So it would be great to have an innovation that could keep, and we are doing it, and the industry is doing a great job of improving that. But if I could snap my fingers and have not just my people, all construction workers be safer, that would be what I would look for.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. It's a very good one.
Thank you.
Ed, thanks so much for taking the time. This was So much fun. Appreciate you.
Same here.
Coming on.
Thank you so much for doing this. I think again, keep doing it. I encourage others to reach out to you and see if they could get involved, because I think more discussion, especially in construction, there's not a lot of people talking to us. So I appreciate you giving us this platform.